We are here at the TransAtlantic Dialogue. We have the chief organizer for the whole program of the TransAtlantic Dialogue, Dr. and Professor Francois Carbon. Welcome to you. Sir, if I may just ask you the first thing, what was this project all about, the TransAtlantic Dialogue that you have initiated?
Yeah, just maybe a history in a nutshell. So the dialogue project started, in fact, in 2006. And it commenced by a visit of a student affairs delegation from Miami University in Ohio. And several students came over with some, of course, officials and staff members of Miami University. And I replaced, at that moment, I was not supposed to be with that group. Supposed was to be one of our vice presidents at the time of the University of Luxembourg. But that one has to cancel his participation and handed over to me the responsibility of welcoming the group. And so I did, and I've met up with Judy Rogers, Associate Dean at that time, Miami University Student Affairs Department. And that was just a lovely encounter. So immediately we fixed several specific topics, and it was very clear that we should continue somehow, and they wanted to continue in 2007, and I said no. European Capital of Culture year 2007, I'm not available because I have other European projects to go and to arrange. So let's focus 2008. But I said, don't come just simply like that with a little delegation. Come over with a bigger one, see what you could do, and I promise you, tell me a couple of months before we are organizing it and set the date. Tell me how many Americans are coming, and I will promise you to bring around the table the same number of Europeans. And they came 40 Americans, I think 20 students plus staff members from several other universities, Bowling Green, Northern Arizona University at the time, Dayton University. So it was just a bigger pool of universities. So they came, and as I promised, so I brought together people from all different countries of Europe. I think it was 18 European countries. Decision makers, mostly presidents and directors of big national institutions, always also working in international affairs. And so we had that conference, and the students, American delegation, they were so amazed just having around the table this international group of people. And what immediately happened was that they connected, of course. And when you're connecting with decision makers, it makes it very easy afterwards to come to very concrete ends and to set up something for the years after. And that happens, in fact. So the Americans connected with the Europeans in France, Germans, Italian, Spanish, Greek, and so on. It was just a busy moment. We had a 2-day conference, and as I said, we started with 80. And then before people left Luxembourg, they said we should and we need to continue that, because just the spirit is so concrete, is so intense, it's so intimate and somehow familiar, so we should proceed because there are much more than just an exchange of business cards. It's just that direct connection leading really to something concrete and ongoing and sustainable. And so we decided having a second conference. So the first was putting students at the center. The second one then, we chose then a topic a year later because they wanted just to continue. And then we chose a topic fixed also on impressions that I said, okay, I don't want to talk just on general aspects of student affairs, social life, accommodation. That's important, cultural life as well. But I would like to focus on culture in the broadest sense of the word, really the touching the heart of what the term culture really means and needs nowadays to be present in today's society. So living culture in the university was this topic of the second conference in 2011. And again, we doubled up the effective of participants. There were 150 people on the second conference. And so it proceeded 2014, 350 participants. Don't remember now all the topics, but We had a conference in 17, bringing 750 people together. Meanwhile, we were more than 25 collaboration partners all over Europe, the United States, even Japan in 2017 joined. So 750 people gathered in Luxembourg at the university. So that was the last active before Corona. Then we planned the Corona, and we had, of course, to cancel it because the 5th edition, as an anniversary edition, was supposed to happen in 2020 in May. When I cancelled that edition because of Corona, we had 1,000 registration, including the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It was an impact. It was a disaster somehow, but okay, we had no other choice than to cancel. And instead of having then the dialogue, we produced a book. We produced a white book, Reimagining the Tower of Babel. We just took the name of the conference to happen, Reimagining the Tower of Babel, and produced instead a book. And instead of having the people in real and in a physical presence in Esch-sur-Alzette at the university, so we had this couple of hundreds of pages edition, and where then the student assistants, the presenters, the conferencier, the officials just put in a word or an academic abstract, and that was an amazing book, an amazing edition, and that was supposed to be the end, let's say, of the project. But then remaining a member of the European Cultural Parliament gave then a new face to that project, because I asked the Secretary General and the Chairman as to be a platform where we discuss really the issues of the dialogue, and where we discuss how it could continue, even though an ECP, even though there are competences and honorable members, but there is no budget, so they cannot pay for. It's not an institution with a secretariat. It's not an institution with an address. We have a chairman. We have a secretary general. We have members all over Europe, not simply European Union, but old lady Europe, which makes out of this group an amazing network. And I'm so proud and happy to be really one of the Luxembourgish members, besides Honorary Minister Elena Hennicke-Schöpjes, former Minister of Culture of Luxembourg. So she, as a senator, proposed me to the chairman and Secretary General to become a member of it. And so I proposed, if ECP sees a possibility, to include a transatlantic dialogue reflection cell inside the ECP. And they allowed me to then present a project and to go on, but also then asking, just ask around if you find some people who would like to be part of it. And I asked the question in Kaunas, and a couple of people just showed up immediately and said, okay, we would like to give it a try. And then I reached out to the American people and said, okay, on the one side we found some ECP members. Would the old long-time companions see a possibility to continue, even though we are not going to be simply now again or continue with academic partners, but really broaden the platform of it. Even though also beforehand we broadened that platform, but now officially we have to broaden it up, because I'm not anymore and any longer a member of a university. And but everybody has no problem with that and said, okay, we know the philosophy. We know this philosophy of creating a forum, not focusing simply on an academic, brain-focused exchange, but really having a conference where we inclusively just focus on the human being, on the soul, on the mind, on the compassion of a human being, and create an exceptional project. And so after 3-4 virtual meetings we had with that group, Americans, so we were 12 people on Zoom. I think it was after the third or after the fourth, and then people just raised up and said, okay, Francois, should we not stop this virtual thing and just proceed with something practical. Do you see a possibility to have another in physical, presential meeting in Luxembourg and Forum? And I said, okay, I will give it a try, even without any budget of university. I'll try to fundraise money and to find possibilities. And then we found help with the city of Luxembourg, the city of Esch, the Ministry of Culture, a foundation, the German-American Institute, the Saarland. And everybody was so supportive that we found a location and we sent out a call and we got replies. And we organized then the sixth in-presence dialogue then in Luxembourg again with 150 people, 50%, let's say, Americans and 50% from all over Europe and abroad.
And I think we've got a very beautiful venue as well with the trains and the mountain hills and everything which is there. Now, if I just ask you one more question now, where do you think so are the areas where the European Union and the United States need to bridge together? Because the dialogue is one of the very important things in this particular era where if you are seeing this politically, economically, there are so much of differences which are emerging down. Now, where do you think so that there are certain issues, platforms which has to be addressed through these kinds of platforms?
Yeah, so dialogue and building bridges is just crucial, and we never have to forget this. We are belonging to the same human family. Living in the United States, living in Asia, living in Africa, living in Europe, I think it's the same family. We just have different colors, but we have the same soul. It's just we developed in a different way with different histories sometimes, with a different setting of the family we were born into. But I think as a newborn child, we all arrived the same. And what we discovered in the conference in 2011, Living Culture inside university, was that I'm really, I'm convinced that every human born child, wherever in the world, is born with a cultural identity. It's up on the educators to train it, to form it, to give a shape to it, to allow it to grow, to develop. Of course, we have so many conflicts, we have so many things passing around us, so it's not always possible, as we heard tomorrow in the presentation of becoming immortal. We have hunger in the world. So not everybody has the same chances as, of course, we cannot unify all the people, but we have to give it a try. And what we discovered or what we wanted to discuss in the Reimagining the Tower of Babel conference was also to point out that it's not simply the responsibility of diplomats and politicians to take responsibilities in creating cultural diplomacy, in formatting, in educating, in giving opportunities to create cultural diplomacy. But it's up on all educational curricula, wherever it happens, where education found a platform to educate generations, new generations, future generations. It's so important that really politicians see and give possibilities to the teachers to really implement cultural diplomacy as a basic factor to be implanted in an education curriculum. And so now seeing USA, United States, Europe, that simply now it's a bridge between America and Europe. But I think now we have, just because of the globalization, we just can't reduce anymore. Okay, we have the logo, we have the flags now here, the logo now is not here behind, but meanwhile also this assembly became furthermore and far more than just simply a transatlantic dialogue, but it became a trans-Pacific dialogue, because meanwhile also as I said, in 2020, we're foreseen to have delegations from Sophia University, Japan, from Stellenbosch University, South Africa, from the University of Nairobi, I got contact from India to invite also delegation from India. So you see, we are on a track and people just need this kind of bridge and they are looking for. And with all those conflicts going on, we don't have to give up our hope and trust into finding solutions, creating platforms like this.
I think that was interesting when you mentioned that the transatlantic project has now become the Pacific project, which you mentioned now. Now, in the future, do you believe the future of the project as it's going ahead, do you feel that like there can be more countries, more participation, and not just with the academic platforms, but beyond with the business platforms also coming together, and then like much more of the goodwill ambassadors also to come inside? Do you also see this in the upcoming?
Absolutely. We need to broaden the platform, and I'm somehow very happy that I quitted now the university, because being a member of or strategic advisor, former of the president, I always had the duty to communicate, of course, with universities. Yeah, that was my first goal to do so. Of course, anyway, my focus was always broader, because I think I'm a visionary guy. So I'm always trying to see further and a little bit in a sustainable way also, being inclusive. And I think now having the chance doing it for the ECP, even though we have to check out how for next chapter of this event or this conference, we have to see how to fundraise more money to bring together more people. But I have not any more this pressure and this obligation to stay with academic partners. But now I think the floor is open. We could also foresee having refugee structures. We could foresee having cultural diplomacy structures, artistic structures, social structures, individuals. The economic sector is very important. I think I met some people from business school who also now meanwhile develop programs. I'm so impressed what I've heard from business schools, what they are developing inside their walls, quitting a little bit that cliche of being an economic guy, of belonging to an economical structure. And but those guys also do, we have some, probably you know, or you met some in Graz, Pierre, the Guillaume Monteur, I don't remember now his full name. It's just one guy, but I've met several of those guys all over Europe and also other conferences. So I'm really hopefully looking forward, continuing. And the project, I hope and I think it will continue. Already yesterday, Americans approached me. Already today, some other Europeans approached me to ask me how we should continue. We will continue. We are looking for volunteers. We are looking for people who would like to engage, who would like not simply engage to be participant in the next edition and being in the audience, but we look for people really taking over responsibility.
Wonderful, Professor Francois. It's a pleasure talking to you and at the project also, because this project has been, we see the vibrant crowd indeed. And then just to share you, it was very interesting to discuss on the peace platforms, which was also there, because these are certain things which was not just for between Europe and for US as something, but then the ideas of discussions were beyond for the existing challenges which are happening around the world. So I just wish that the project takes ahead with much more of participation in the upcoming ones indeed. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you, Vivek.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Staying connected.
Definitely.
Thanks.